The doorbell of the distributor rang as Amelia entered, bringing with her the aroma of freshly purchased coffee from the corner bakery. Her heels clicked on the porcelain floor with a confident rhythm as she waved to the employees who were already starting their activities that Monday morning. "Good morning, Julia. Where is James?" she asked the secretary, who was organising some documents at the reception. "He's on the phone with a client." She proceeded to her office, where she left her bag and coffee on the solid wooden table. The view through the panoramic window revealed the yard where trucks were being loaded with construction materials. The company was a distributor of construction materials, which she and James had built from scratch. It was now a reference in the sector. The door opened, and James entered, bringing with him the familiar scent of the woody perfume he had been using since they met in business school 15 years ago. "Sleepyhead," he joked, leaning in to kiss her forehead. "I left so early I didn't even see you wake up." "Meeting with suppliers?" she asked, while organising some papers on the table. "That, and then I need to stop by the bank. We'll have to renegotiate that line of credit for the warehouse expansion," he replied, checking his watch. "By the way, this month's report is ready. We've exceeded expectations once again." The phone rang, interrupting the conversation. Amelia answered it, and James took the opportunity to say goodbye with a discreet wave, leaving her alone with her tasks. There was something in his expression that bothered her, but she couldn't quite pinpoint exactly what it was. It was just a feeling, like the one we get when a piece of furniture has been slightly moved in a familiar room. Something subtle, almost imperceptible, yet our senses pick it up without being able to name it. That night, Amelia was working on her laptop at the kitchen table. The house, a cosy townhouse in a quiet neighbourhood, was silent. James had gone out to play tennis with friends, as he did every Tuesday. Or at least that's what he said. While analysing the sales reports, something caught her attention. There was a discrepancy between the recorded inventory and actual sales. It wasn't the first time she had noticed these inconsistencies, but whenever she questioned James, he had a plausible explanation. System error, last-minute cancelled order, merchandise return. Amelia took a sip of her now lukewarm chamomile tea and sighed. James had always insisted on handling the financial side. "You're better with people, I'm better with numbers," he would say, with that smile that convinced her to say yes at the altar 12 years ago. Upon opening her corporate email, she found an unusual message from a customer she did not recognise, complaining about an order that wasn't in the company's official system. Her stomach tightened. It was the third time that month she received similar communications. Clients who were not in the database, materials leaving without invoices, deposits that were not officially recorded. She looked at the photo on the living room wall. Her and James at the company's inauguration 7 years ago. He with an arm around her shoulder, both exhausted but radiant. They had mortgaged the small house they owned to start the business. Amelia had left her stable job at a multinational company, and James had sold the car he so loved. All for a shared dream. "It's going to be all right," he had whispered that night, when she, suddenly overtaken by anxiety, questioned the decision. "Trust me." And she did. For years. In the early hours of the morning, after James had fallen asleep, Amelia got up silently and went to the office. The company's notebook was in the drawer, protected by a password she knew. After all, they were partners. With trembling fingers, she opened the financial files to which she rarely had access. What she found made her heart race. There was a bank account in the company's name that she had never seen before. An account with intense activity, high values, transfers to individuals she didn't know, large deposits and withdrawals. Everything there was probably without proper tax records. Tears blurred her vision as she scrolled through the statements month after month. Years of lies. Years in which she managed the visible part of the business while, behind the scenes, James was building a parallel scheme. Amelia felt as if the ground disappeared beneath her feet. Dishonesty was something she always abhorred. She grew up watching her father, a small shopkeeper, refused to evade taxes even when the accounts barely balanced at the end of the month. "Character is priceless, my daughter," he would say, with hands calloused from honest work. "What would your father say now if he knew that the company he was so proud of was operating illegally?" Her thoughts turned to all the times she had thanked the heavens for the prosperity and comfortable life they led. The irony was too bitter. At that moment, a certainty crystallized in her chest. She could no longer pretend she didn't know. The next day, without saying anything to James, Amelia went to the bank. With the documentation proving she was a managing partner of the company, she requested the immediate freezing of that secret account. "Are you sure about this, ma'am?" asked the manager, a middle-aged man with an understanding look. "This action is quite drastic." "I've never been so sure about anything in my life," she replied, with a firmness she didn't know she possessed. That afternoon, when she got home, she found James in the living room, his face pale, holding the cell phone as if it were a strange object. "What did you do?" he asked, his voice low and restrained. "What I should have done a long time ago," she replied, standing tall. "I've discovered everything, James. The secret account, the cash transactions, the phantom clients." "You don't understand," he began, running his hand through his hair in a nervous gesture. "Then explain it to me. Explain why my husband, the man I admired for his integrity, is embezzling money from our company." "It's not embezzlement." He raised his voice, then held back, looking around as if afraid of being overheard. "It's just parallel accounting, to protect the business." "Protect from what? From paying taxes? From being honest?" James approached, trying to hold her hands, but she stepped back. "Amelia, everybody does it. It's the only way to survive in this market. Taxes suffocate us, the competition is unfair." "No, James. Not everybody. My father didn't do that. And I thought you didn't either." His expression changed, becoming harder. "Your father died penniless. Is that what you want? For us to lose everything?" Those words hit Amelia like a physical blow. Her father had passed away 5 years earlier, leaving only a small savings account and a clean reputation. The simple funeral had been crowded with clients and friends who came to pay their last respects to an honourable man. "If that's the cost of honesty, yes," she replied, her voice choked with emotion. "I would rather sleep peacefully in a simple bed than in silk sheets bought with dirty money." James tried to argue, accusing her of naivety, of not understanding how the business world worked. But when she looked at him with those steady, albeit tearful eyes, something in him seemed to give way. "I got involved in a scheme with a college friend," he finally confessed, collapsing onto the sofa. "It was just for a while. Just until we sorted out the debts we had at the beginning. But it kept getting bigger, harder to stop. Why did you never tell me? Because I knew how you would react. I knew you wouldn't accept it. You knew who I was. You knew about my faith, my way of living. And even so, you chose to hide it from me," she said, calm but devastated inside. In the silence that followed, only the ticking of the wall clock, a wedding gift from Amelia's mother, filled the room. Outside, the rain began to fall, gentle at first, then stronger, as if the sky shared the sadness that now inhabited that house. A week later, the consequences began to manifest. By freezing the account, Amelia had inadvertently disrupted a web of obscure relations James maintained. Phantom suppliers started calling, demanding payments. An important client cancelled contracts upon discovering irregularities. And people Amelia had never seen showed up at the company, with unfriendly expressions, asking for James. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" James accused, abruptly entering her office at the company. "We are ruined. Those guys mean business." The fear in her eyes was real, and for the first time Amelia realised the depth of the hole they were in. It wasn't just a matter of tax evasion. James had gotten involved with dangerous people, in schemes that she couldn't even fully understand. Within a few days, like a house of cards in a storm, everything collapsed. The tax authorities showed up, probably alerted by one of James's partners who felt betrayed by the account freeze. The fines were astronomical. The company's name was added to the list of defaulters. The employees, realizing the severity of the situation, began looking for other jobs. At home, the atmosphere was like a funeral. James was dejected, his eyes marked by deep dark circles, his face always tense. Amelia oscillated between anger over the betrayal and concern for the future. On a particularly difficult night, after receiving yet another legal notice, James knelt on the living room floor, which was almost empty. They had sold most of the furniture to pay off debts. "I don't know what happened to me, Amelia," he said, his eyes filled with tears she had never seen before. "I let myself be carried away. By greed. By the fear of failing you. I'm so sorry." She watched him, this man who now seemed so diminished. The same man who once made her believe they could conquer the world together. The man she loved, despite everything. "Why, James?" she asked, sitting on the floor next to him. "Why risk everything we built?" "At first it was just small adjustments, then I couldn't stop anymore. Every time I solved a problem with that money, I felt like I was protecting you, protecting our dream." "Protecting me? Lying to me?" I know it seems contradictory, but in my twisted mind it made sense. He took a deep breath, wiping away the tears with the back of his hand. "When I was growing up, I saw my father lose everything for being too honest. I saw my mother cry at night, worried about the bills. I swore I would never let my family go through that. Ironic, isn't it? I ended up causing exactly what I most feared." Silence hung between them, heavy like the storm clouds gathering outside. "I want to fix this, Amelia," he finally said. "I don't know how, but I want to." The pain was great, but there was something in his regret that seemed genuine. She saw it, and even hurt, pained, betrayed. Something inside her stirred. "It won't be easy," she said finally. "I know. We will have to start from scratch. I'm willing. No shortcuts this time. No lies, no secret accounts." He nodded, holding her hands tightly. "I promise." The following months were about rebuilding, not just financially but especially restoring confidence. They went to therapy. They talked to older friends who could offer good advice and share the burden. James reported the scheme, faced fines and legal consequences. The company was liquidated to pay off debts, and they had to sell the house, moving to a small rented apartment. James found a job as a salesperson in a hardware store. The salary was much lower than he was used to, and the work was harder, but he did not complain. For the first time in years, he slept without the weight of lies. Amelia used her experience to get a job as a customer service manager at a medium-sized company. In her spare time, she studied for public service exams, seeking stability for the future. One Sunday, they were walking through the square when they spotted a small commercial property for rent. It was a modest space in need of renovation, but well located. "What do you think?" James asked, pointing to the place. "About what?" "To start over. Small this time. A paint shop, perhaps." Amelia hesitated. The idea of going into business again with James scared her. The wounds were still healing. "I'm not sure if we're ready." "I understand if you don't trust me for this," he said without pressing. "I just thought that maybe it's a way to rebuild not just our livelihood but also our partnership." She observed the place. A small shop, with shelves that would need to be improvised, and a floor that would have to be restored. Nothing like the distributor they had built before. But everything there could be cleaned, right? Honest. 2 weeks later, the small paint shop, Colours and Values, opened its doors. Amelia took care of sales and the decor of the space, while James took charge of the operational side. The finances, however, were managed by both of them with complete transparency. At first, sales were modest, just enough to cover the rent and restock the inventory, but there was something different in this new beginning. Peace. There was no longer the constant fear of being discovered, the elaborate lies, the vague justifications. James was no longer the same man. The trials had left marks but had also transformed him. He was more humble, more present, more honest, not just in business but in all aspects of life. And Amelia had changed too. She had learned to forgive, not out of weakness but by conscious choice. She learned that true, mature love sometimes means giving a second chance. 6 months after the store opened, on an autumn morning, Amelia entered the bathroom with the pregnancy test in hand. The 2 minutes of waiting felt like an eternity. When the 2 pink lines appeared, she felt a wave of contradictory emotions: joy, fear, hope. That night when she told James, they looked at each other and knew this was the greatest wealth they could have. A new life, a new beginning, a chance to do things differently. The store thrived in the following months, not by magic, but because they now worked in peace, with integrity. James expanded the product line to include painting accessories, while Amelia developed a colour consulting service that soon became popular in the neighbourhood. On a quiet afternoon while organising the stock, James suddenly stopped, watching Amelia with her 5-month visible belly. "You know, Amelia," he held her hands, his voice choked with emotion. "When everything fell apart, I found myself at rock bottom. But you not only reached out to me, you dug alongside me to pull me out. And today, I realise that this is true wealth, having someone real by my side." Amelia nodded, hugging him. When things are right, they prosper. And that kind of prosperity isn't measured by the bank balance, but by restful nights, holding hands on the sidewalk, and a faith that, even shaken, never faded. On the wall of the small shop, a simple frame displayed a phrase they had chosen together: "The truth sets you free." And for James and Amelia, there were never truer words. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.